Okay, can you tell me if global public opinion exists?
Uh, 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 loading.
Can you move your camera? I can't see you.
Ah, yes, thank you.
No, I can't see your face.
Oh,
Okay. Okay, so how do you know that global public opinion exists? How do you know that global public opinion exists?
glo oh, 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 I no understand. Your
Okay. Let me
yes.
ask you another question. Does South Korean public opinion exist? I can share your
But
screen here. I can share your pic your your here's your exam. Okay.
yes.
Okay, so
Ah,
it says here yeah, you mentioned the Universal Postal Union, the Europe, okay. However, there are growing numbers as broad. Okay, so the UN members pursue such human rights, peace, security when formulating UN resolutions. They form strategic alliances based on political systems, ideological tendencies, and economic independence. In addition, criticism is growing today that UN resolutions are only for some countries. Well, I mean, the UN General Assembly has one country and one vote. Every country has one vote, right? So why do you say that UN resolutions are only for some countries?
mm.
Why do you say that? Why do you
Ah,
write this?
yes. Wait a minute.
Does the UN General Assembly have one vote for each country?
Oh, yes.
Why do you mean that UN resolutions are only for some countries?
Oh, oh, 어, 음, 뭐라고 설명해야 되지? Because, 음, 아, the, UN, start, US and UK start UN.
Yeah,
So, uh, so, developing countries, in, so UN influ, influence developing countries.
yeah,
Uh, small
yeah.
influence.
Uh-huh.
Yes, correct. 그래서
Yeah. Well,
uh
I mean, but of course,
yes,
let's compare with South Korea, right? I mean, South Korea, strong and rich and powerful people influence weaker and poor people inside South Korea, yet
yes,
we still consider the government of South Korea to represent the will of the Korean people, yes?
yes.
So why can we not say that UN General Assembly represents the will of the human people, all human people?
어, 네. So we think we're develop third countries, but US and more China's very 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 hit 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 hit.
Influence, it could
Ah
coerce,
yes,
coerce the,
the
use
course.
pressure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, so
Yeah.
yes.
I
Oh
mean,
yes.
you know, in South Korea, South Koreans are not allowed to use force against other South Koreans to make them obey
Ah
the
yes,
position.
yes,
So you're
yes,
saying, but in
yes,
international relations, we still see countries using coercion.
yes.
Okay. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, yeah, I know global public opinion is not exactly the same like American public opinion or Japanese public opinion or Russian public opinion or South Korean public opinion, but you know, it's a step in that direction. Yeah. I mean, Article 2, Section 4 of the UN Charter says that countries are not supposed to use coercion against each other to influence each other. They're not supposed to use force. And then the 1970 General Assembly Resolution on Friendly Relations develops that point further. Yeah. So yeah, I know it's different from reality, but I guess my question to you is, you know, South Korea. Let's take South Korea, right? South Korea um, uh, um, has public opinion. Yes, you agree that South Korea, there's a South Korean public opinion exists. South Korean public opinion is real.
Mm.
That South Korea has public opinion. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And but how do you know it has public opinion?
Public opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes, yes, yes.
How do you know what South Korean public opinion is?
Uh uh hmm? Oh we South South Korea has public oh opinions,
Mhm.
but but sorry, but uh
Yeah. It has public opinion. Yes.
yes.
And public opinion is important in South Korea. It's important. It's important for South Korea. Yes.
Oh yes.
So it's
Hmm.
important. How is it important for elections? Right. Um, how do you measure? How do you know what Korean public opinion is? How do you know what South Korean public opinion is? How do you know what it? How do you know what the opinion of South Koreans are?
Yes. Oh, type your have typing.
How do you how
So
do you how do you know what South
the
Korean public opinion is?
ah oh oh I we have a popular opinion, but I don't think it will help diplomatically.
Well, I mean, you can. I know a challenge or difficult to measure, but we know
Yes.
we have some idea of what Korean public opinion is through elections. Yes, through elections in South Korea. You know, if
Election.
yeah, right, to choose a president, to choose a government through elections. People vote
Yeah.
in elections, and we see the
Mm,
result of those elections.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That's
Ah.
another way to measure or know public opinion.
Mm. Ah. Uh. Uh. 음, 어, 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 It is true that it is a democratic country with the right to vote, but I think I am with focused on the present. Diplomatically, our country has no choice but to be swayed by other countries, and in the end, our opinions do not reach to top.
Well, I mean, but South Korea removed Park Geun-hye as president. How could,
Uh,
I mean, that was important that the candlelight revolution removed President Park Geun-hye, the top
yes.
person. So
Ah,
public opinion
ah,
is important, yes?
ah, ah, ah. I mm, I in the case of Park Geun-hye, although he was incompetent, I think she was a diplomatic victim.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
But so if you think that public opinion is important in Korea, public opinion, it means elections, it can mean candlelight revolution, demonstrations, it can mean public opinion surveys by public opinion organizations like Gallup and Harris. There's lots of different ways to try to study public opinion depending on what you're interested and why you're interested in studying public opinion, right? If you want to understand Korean public opinion, to understand how the government works, how the government is elected, then that's different from understanding public opinion from the point of view of how you uh, sell products and make new products and convince Koreans to buy those products in the Korean market, right? It depends on why you are interested in public opinion. Public opinion is a complex, ambiguous, but important idea, important concept. Yes. Hello. 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 Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, and public, South Korean public opinion exists because South Korea exists. Yeah. Because
Yes.
South Korea exists, we talk about South Korean public opinion, yes?
Yes.
So can we talk about a global public opinion because the United Nations General Assembly exists? I mean, can't we, is it important to talk about global public opinion? Is global public opinion an important idea?
No.
But but what about, for example, I mentioned how General Assembly resolutions from the many years from the 1950s until the 1990s and actions by other United Nations agencies like the UN Security Council, they played an important role in not the only factor, not the only role, but they played an important role in bringing about the end of apartheid in South Africa. Yeah. You know where South
Yes.
Africa is? So here's a coffee cup somebody gave me. You see South Africa? There's South Africa.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And this is Namibia. The red country is Namibia, right? This used to be
Yes.
ruled by an apartheid regime, uh, which was a racist white supremacy regime. And
Yes.
these countries dominated the United Nations General Assembly, and they were able to use the UN General Assembly because there's many of them to pass many resolutions through the General Assembly with the help of many people in many countries in Asia and many countries in Latin America to condemn apartheid here in South Africa.
Yes.
So I know. I know. These United Nations opinion statements and UN Security Council statements were not the only reason why apartheid ended in South Africa, but I think any explanation as to why apartheid ended needs to include the role of the United Nations in explaining why apartheid ended. I mean, I know it's one important factor, but it's not sufficient. It's just one of many of other factors explain the apartheid in this part of Africa. The rule by white minority racist regimes here was during the Cold War. The Cold War led many Western countries, including the United States, to be kind of sympathetic to these people because these white regimes here claim that they were anti-communist. So a lot of these national liberation movements, liberation struggles in these other countries, including against the white supremacy minority governments, they got lots of support from these states. So that's why your book spends a lot of time talking about insurgencies, national liberation movements, particularly because of the struggle against apartheid in South Africa and declaring those groups that were fighting apartheid to have legal support, that they were representing global public opinion against racism, right? And so much of your book is focused upon global public opinion and its role in mobilizing the world. To some extent, I know it's not sufficient, but it played a role in mobilizing the world against apartheid, right? In South Africa. Apartheid is that white racist policy that was adopted by the South African white government in 1948 to segregate and control South Africa for the white minority while keeping the black majority out of power. So, I mean, and so I guess is that case evidence that there is something called global public opinion, that it is kind of significant? What do you think?
One more time.
Do you think global public opinion in the case of fighting racism in South Africa through UN General Assembly resolutions it shows that global public opinion is useful?
Uh, uh, Are you asking whether par- parliaments like the UN are helping countries like Africa?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know they don't solve the problems of Africa, but don't they help?
Uh, uh, ah,
I mean, it's also important today because there's lots of concern about how the Israelis are treating the Palestinians inside Palestine. Because, of course, Israel was established the same year that apartheid began in South Africa in 1948. And so there was also lots of protest against Israel and its treatment of the Palestinians. And of course that history with South Africa is important because now many observers, including some prestigious ones like Amnesty International, say that Israel is like South Africa today. That Israel is like South Africa 30 years ago. It's an apartheid state. It carries out brutal apartheid policies against the Palestinians who live in Palestine. And everybody remembers what apartheid was like. And everybody remembers how the United Nations General Assembly and other actors condemned apartheid in South Africa. So if you call Israel an apartheid state, everybody remembers what apartheid means because the UN General Assembly and the United Nations organizations, all of them, they defined what it was. They explained what apartheid was. They analyzed apartheid. And now we know what apartheid is. And so when someone says Israel is today an apartheid state against the Palestinians, that we know what that means because of the UN General Assembly acting over the last 70 years. Well, until apartheid ended in 1994. So over from 1950s until about 30, 50 years. Yeah. So and that's a consequence of the organization of the human race in the form of the United Nations. The authors of the book, they call the United Nations system, the United Nations major bodies, the major organs, the UN General Assembly, the Security Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Law Court, the Trusteeship Council, and the Economic and Social Council as as organized humanity. Like, if you want to organize humanity, the only organization that organizes all of the human race is the United Nations, right? And because it's organized, humanity is organized, we have some idea of what global humanity's opinion is, global public opinion is, through it being organized through the United Nations system. Just like, in a sense, we know what South Korean people's public opinion is because South Korea, the Republic of Korea, exists, right?
yeah, yes.
So yeah, I know it's the United Nations is not very powerful. The United Nations doesn't have an army. The United Nations doesn't have a court like the Republic of Korea. It doesn't have an army like the Republic of Korea. It doesn't have a sovereignty like the Republic of Korea. But it's the beginnings of some way to organize all of the human race, right? And
Yes.
yeah, so I know it's not able to stop big powerful countries like the United States and China and Russia from doing bad things, or even small countries like Israel from doing bad things, or and other actors from doing very bad things. But it does create a forum or a place where the world can organize its response as the world to what's going on in Palestine, to what's going on in South Africa, to what's today going on in Sudan, to what's going on in Ethiopia, to what's going on in Korea, right? The world can
Yes.
respond as the world because there is something that claims to represent the humanity in an organized way. And so you could make that argument that I know it doesn't make the world wonderful, but it's a step a small step in that direction. Maybe it's, I know people are disappointed that the world is not a more peaceful place. But I think maybe you could also make the argument that the world could be a lot worse than it already is without the United Nations. I mean, there could be a lot more suffering, a lot more danger, a lot more war than there already is. Maybe, you know, I mean, I don't know. I can't prove that, right? But I mean, that is the claim that is always made, that if the United Nations didn't exist, we'd have to create it, because you need to have a place where the world can meet and talk as the world, and as everybody understands it to be the world. I know the UN Security Council has been very disappointing, you know, because of the veto. I know you know, but I don't know. Do you think we can reform the United Nations Security Council to make it more effective? There have been times in the past, like the Uniting for Peace resolution in 1950, when the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution authorizing the United States to intervene in Korea in 1950, the Uniting for Peace resolution. But that was because the UN Security Council wasn't able to function, because Russia, Soviet Union refused to participate. And so the General Assembly acted at that time. Now, of course, you know, the United States and Russia and other countries are very careful to make sure that they use the United Nations Security Council if they can for their own interest. I know that, you know, but still, sorry.
No.
So I think that, if I guess the lessons about the United Nations and global public opinion and the UN General Assembly and global public opinion is that the United Nations tries to make it easier to exist, to make it easier for the people like you and me to think about what is the world's well-being. What are global human rights? What does that mean? It's a little easier to think and act on that basis, a little bit easier if there is some kind of global universal organization that claims to represent or that organizes all of the world. I mean, the United Nations has all of the countries in it, and it's only significant organization that has all of the world's countries, or pretty much all of them, with some minor exceptions, as members. So, and so, you know, I mean, it promotes people's thinking about human rights. It encourages thinking about human rights. It encourages activism to think about the human rights of all human beings everywhere, not just Koreans and Americans and Japanese and Russians and Ukrainians, but the human rights of everybody. And you're right. I mean, it will only work if people make it work, right? But the UN makes it a little bit easier for people to think about global community, global well-being, organizing the human race in one big community, being aware that we live in a global community that has a global public opinion. What do you think? You agree?
Oh, yes.
Yes, good. Okay, I will send you the link to this recording, okay?
Yes.
So you can watch it again if you want to. And I think it has Korean subtitle. You have the Google, it can do translation into Korean if you want to. So,
Yes.
okay, I'll see you next week, okay?
Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry.
bye.
Bye.